Hey guys, I'll start posting my builds on Diablo IV Druid and I'll start with this one as Summoner. It's a very strong and tanky build which has a lot of damage based on your companion skill. It's also very efficient in any situation, whether you're facing bosses or packs. I know that it's quite not yet in T4, but I wanted to introduce you to my build in order for you to start playing with it. For the gear and the skills, you'll be playing the Blood Hall in order to boost yourself, but also your minions with a legendary power. Also, keep in mind that if you want to be a bit more tanky, you can consider the Bulwark just here instead. Especially, it's strong to remove CC if you need. Then you have the Wolves for the single target, the Poison Creeper in order to deal big AoE damage, but it also works quite fine on bosses, and the Ravens in order to make enemies vulnerable. You have the Claw as our base skill and the Shred in order to spend our Spirit. First you want damage reduction during Werewolf, and this one very interesting, a bit hard to find, you need some luck, but it will grant you +2 to all your Wolf spell. After that, this one will turn your wolf into werewolf, and they'll also be able to spread rabies. You have here our healing source, very important to get this one in order to get healed. And for the boot you can take what you want, for example, the increased movement speed when you land a critical hit. You need a two-handed weapon in order for this legendary power to be stronger. It will boost your damage in function of your companions. Here you have an additional minion, that's why I have another wolf, and this one which will first increase critical chance but also share this buff to your allies and companions. Lastly, some damage reduction with basic attack. For the boons you want damage reduction on elites, don't forget that it's for elites, bosses and players, critical chance and increased attack speed. You can also take this one in order to gain critical damage. You must have the pack leader in order to reset your minion skills. It's very strong if you have a reset because you'll be able to cast again every companion skill that you have, so don't forget to put a bit of lucky hit in your stuff. Lastly, the healing when you land a critical hit in Werewolf. For the tree you want the Claw and just 1 point here, you don't need to go further. After that you get the Shred and the fact that it will poison enemies. You also want this one in order to get critical chance. Then just 1 point in the Blood Hall and the fact that it will grant you attack speed and also works for your minions. Some defensive passive here and here, and of course everything max in minions. So you have the Wolf with the increased attack speed, the Poison Creeper with the fact that it will do more poison damage. This one is also interesting but less powerful because the 3 Sigons will be very strong. And lastly, for the Raven, the fact that it will make enemies vulnerable. You also want of course this one in order to boost your companions' damage. Then you'll put what you have left in rabies and just 1 point here and here. You want the poison passive in order to deal damage when you land a critical hit, and this one to increase critical damage from poisoned enemies. You don't need anything here, and we'll finish with the Lupin Ferocity to gain a critical hit every 6 shots. For the Paragon you have 4 glyphs which are interesting. The first one will increase your damage dealt to close enemies and will scale with dexterity. Then you have the Fungal Claw or the Werewolf, which are interesting to boost your Werewolf. Both are in willpower and it's the stats that we want because they boost our damage. You can also consider this one which will boost your companion damage, but it's in intelligence, so less interesting for the build. For the tab you can take the Malice in order to boost your damage and later the Werewolf in order to get more sustain. For the gameplay now you'll see that it's quite easy, you just need to spam your minion skills. When you have a pack, the Vine Creeper, if you see an elite or a boss you can use the Wolves and add the Raven on the top of it in order to make them vulnerable. If you have a reset you can do it again, and otherwise use your Claw in order to gain Spirit and the Shred during the cooldown of your minion skills. You also want the Hole in order to boost your minions and yourself, and otherwise you quickly clear anything that you encounter in the game. If you get stunned or fear, it won't be too much of an issue, you'll just lose a bit of time, so try to avoid it if you can. Thanks for watching this video. As usual, if you have any question, feel free to post in the comment, and don't forget that you have all our builds on dmgaming.eu.